There are going to be many players who are going to win in the internet space. And it's not fair to expect that there's going to be one company in the end. So one shouldn't expect Facebook to acquire Apple or Google to acquire Facebook. I think there'll be many players who will be very good at what they do, and they'll find reasons to collaborate because we think we're really good at providing search. We think we're really good at providing digital advertising solutions. So we're going to be good at our stuff.
Google would never, ever become the New York Times / a technology company / Reuters. At one point in time, there was a discussion that Google would own the world's media.
I don't think that's true. I think Google helps navigate a certain part of the media landscape. And to be fair, today there are advertising agencies, there are media players. We have one form of media, and we help sell other forms of media. So we help sell a lot of display. We help sell other people's search engines. So I think if you understand the DNA of the company, what turns us on is solving problems of technological scale. So if you look at everything that we're doing, it can be explained like that, right? We're trying to solve the mobile phone OS ecosystem, which is a huge ecosystem, and we believe by doing it open source and providing a platform, it takes away 20% of the cost of building mobile phones, and it probably takes away 6 months of delay in people trying to adapt various operating systems. If you look at the let me step back. The best way from our perspective to think about technology for us is on three ends. One is it's on the device end, the devices you and I carry. The second part of it is in the connectivity between that device and through the network, right? And the third is what do you do on the device? What can I do? So if you think about it in those very simple places, we're trying to help on the device and the mobile side by the operating system, or we're trying to help make the device better and faster with our efforts around Chrome. If you look at the latency, we're trying to help stimulate some of the latency conversations with the FCC plan, the 1 gigabit plan we just talked about. And if you look at what I can do on top, you'll see us working with various people in the application space. We just announced an application marketplace for enterprise customers. We have an application marketplace for Android phones. So that's how we think about technology and see how we can solve problems of great scale, which actually will end up creating sort of a faster pace of innovation revolution.
And obviously all this needs money to spend. Yes. As we move into the summer of 2010, U.S. recovery, it's there. It's without employment. How do you see global markets? How do you see your business in this environment?
As we announced in our last quarterly results, we are seeing the large companies come back and spend money on the internet in the U.S. It was a very good quarter from that perspective. Retail was very strong. What's actually interesting in addition to people spending money, what has happened in the U.S. is earlier there were a lot of pure play internet companies like the Amazons, the eBays, etc. And what's happened in the last 3 to 4 years is that many of the bricks and mortar companies, like the Targets, the Sears, the JCPenney's, the Walmarts, they've decided that this is not a bastion they want to let go. They also need to be as good in the online space as they are in the real world. So they've actually beefed up their capabilities, and they've actually decided they want to be players in the online space. So you're beginning to see growth not just from pure play internet companies, but also people who've developed their capabilities on the internet because such a large proportion of the population is spending time on the web. So that's a fascinating trend, and that trend replicates itself in many advanced technology markets where people, penetration is between 60 to 80% for broadband on the internet. So you're seeing that big surge come back. In addition to that, from an economic perspective, Western Europe is, for the most part, back or stable. There are some countries in the southern Europe
part. Very patchy.
It's patchy, yes. And again, Europe is not one country. This is 60 different countries. So clearly every country has its own economic sort of stimulus and economic conditions going on. But generally speaking, we're not where we were 6 months ago. Generally speaking, there seems to be reasonable confidence in many, many parts of the world. And look at Asia. Asia's come back.
Do you think India? There is some belief that India could overtake China in the next 2 to 3 years. If it does, then it makes it all the more exciting for Google.
Look, I think India is an exciting market for Google, however you look at it. As I mentioned, this is a technologically savvy market. People get technology, not just the narrow niche of technologies, but generally broad-based middle class gets technology. So from that perspective, it's a very exciting market. It's an exciting market it's a democratic country. People understand things. People have access to lots of information. Information is good for every part of the process, whether it's a political process, or whether it's the economic process. So, it is a market which is very exciting, and we continue to hope to be able to play an important part in it.
You also sit on the board of Bharti Airtel, and you know Sunil Bharti Mittal well. He obviously is trying very hard to expand, like everyone should, Africa being one of them through Zen. Is that the best way to go about it?
I think Africa in the long term is going to be, again, if you step back and go back 50 years and look where evolution, where economic development has taken many different countries around the world, it becomes a no-brainer that everybody should participate in any developing economy in the world if you have a long-term perspective. So from that perspective, clearly Africa is a market which is going to do wonderfully in the long term. And not only that, there's a fantastic notion of being able to provide services to a developing economy, whether it's India, whether it's parts of Africa, whether it's parts of Eastern Europe. It's a wonderful thing to do.
And I know you're on the board, you're not running Bharti Mittal, but is it likely to happen, the Zen deal?
I would leave Sunil to answer that question. I think it would be unfair to speculate.
Should we see you back in India more, on business?
Look, I'm committed to coming back to this country. I grew up here. I was born here. Mm-hmm. I have a special place for India in my heart. I would like to see the country do wonderfully, which it already is. And any part that me or Google can contribute, we would gladly do so.
But you mentioned earlier India is a tiny part of Google's global pie. I mean, again, what will it make? What has to happen for it to be a bigger part of that pie?
And I think, look, as you mentioned, the GDP is growing fantastically. The advertising markets continue to grow. Our primary source of revenue is advertising. So clearly, we end up getting some proportion of the advertising market in whichever country we participate. At the same time, our biggest excitement and enthusiasm comes from the products that the consumers pick up. And, we have had reasonable success with many of our products that we've launched in the Indian market. Clearly, the market seems to like our products. So, what has to happen is it's going to be the growth of the Internet. It's going to be the affinity of businesses to the Internet. And to some degree, I think it will also be Indian businesses wanting to participate in the global economy from a content perspective.
How does that happen?
Well, as you can see, there's 1 billion people in India or more, but there's a lot of people outside of India. And the Internet is not just a platform for a local market. It's also a platform for people outside the country. Bollywood makes more movies, we're sitting in Bombay, makes more movies than Hollywood. Most of the Western world is now beginning to consume entertainment on the web. Maybe there's an opportunity for content from India to make it all over the world because there is a very simple and easy distribution platform available.
Google in distributing not just IPL cricket but Bollywood.
Well, IPL cricket is a form of exporting Indian content to a global audience. Mm-hmm. And granted, there's cricket aficionados in at least 12 countries, which are part of the Commonwealth, but there's more.
Is that a viable business plan?
Why not? If you think about the cost of distribution is minimal, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody has their computers. They have their broadband access to their computers in the Western world. There are servers sitting out there serving content. So all you got to do is make sure the content gets to the server. That's not that hard. So it's an interesting option, isn't it?
Sachin Tendulkar and Bipasha Basu in Palo Alto soon.
Coming soon to a computer near you.
Nikesh, wonderful to speak to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.